I don't have it set up anymore. All right. Well, anyway, we're live now. So what's going on, everybody? Lil Jones with Midnight Comics, and of course, the Indie Breakdown, the show where we break down your favorite indie comic book characters' power, stats, and abilities, and get them ready for an indie versus matchup. I hope you guys can hear me. Usually, I have a neat little intro and all that other good stuff, but it didn't play. But that's okay. Anyway, that buys me time anyway. I'm gonna go ahead and send this to the group because stuff and things. Hold on just a second, y'all. That's everyone. 2 seconds. Let me at everyone for this. It has been quite a while. I feel like those folks at the beginning of meetings at work, they never seem prepared. Huh? What'd you say? Hmm? Not that they don't know what they're talking about, but they're never ready, you know? So that's how I feel right now. All right, here we go. So I shared it there, so you guys should, in hindsight, anybody that's watching from the breakdown stuff should see it just fine. But yeah, to anybody that doesn't know, Lloyd Jones from Midnight Comics, but I also obviously run the Indie Breakdown here. Again, we went through the whole spiel. It started off as a show. And that show, basically, we interviewed people, talked about the characters, and then we essentially did a breakdown of the character. And then when we did that for all 10 people, brought everybody together for a, what did we call it? A creator clash, right? And so in that creator clash, everybody kind of talk mess, talk junk, and all of that. And yeah, then we decided to do a an official matchup for said season. And that's what you'll see on our website, what have you, a little blog post about the matchup and our thoughts on who would actually win and all that fun stuff, all that fun stuff. But that's what it started off as. Now we have a group which we're celebrating two years. Has it been 2 years now of Indie Breakdown? I want to say it's been 2 years. And let me know if y'all can't hear. Hold on, let me double check myself here. In hindsight, yes. Okay. Let me know if there's an echo or anything. Yeah, let me know if there's an echo or anything. But yes, so here we are with talking about the group. So from the success of the show and all this other stuff, we wanted to extend that to any and everybody because obviously the seasons were only 10 people per, but there were a lot of people asking about, oh, how can I get my character to talk about? How can we do these verses and all this other stuff? And that led to the creation of this group. So anybody that is new here again, that's kind of the origin story there. I have been largely absent these last couple of months, which is because just need to take a break. Running Midnight Comics, we have this going on with Indie Breakdown. We were doing a lot, and we overwhelmed ourselves. I overwhelmed myself. Let me say that properly. I overwhelmed myself trying to do too much at one time. So I needed a break. So in the meantime, your moderators and admins have stepped up. Dre came through with the daily questions, I noticed that there was matches, gauntlets, all this other stuff. Tasha was in my stead giving you guys updates, discussing about the rules and all the other stuff. And again, anybody that's new here, I can hear you clearly. Tori, thank you, thank you, thank you. How have you been, by the way? How you been? Um, so yeah, just shout out to everybody that's been keeping the group going. In my absence, I definitely appreciate you guys. Um, it was a much needed break. It was a much needed break. But as we celebrate the return, if you would, right? Um, Obviously, for anybody that's new, just want to dive in or rather express that we do have rules in here. Not that anybody new that I've noticed has really broken these rules to any type of real extent. But one of the things that we want to avoid is it becoming a dead group or a link hell, right? Where, it's just those groups where it's only just a bunch of people posting links to their stuff, but there's no community, there's no engagement, there's no none of that. It's just kind of a dumping off point for just links and stuff like that. So every Sunday is our promo Sundays, and that's the day to go and share your stuff. Links, be like, hey, buy my stuff here. Hey, commission me here. Hey, let me write for you, edit for you, all this other stuff. That's the day for that. However, Monday through Saturday is the opportunity to kind of reel people in, kind of hook them on the stuff that you have. So if you write comic books, if you draw comic books, so on and so forth, whatever your product is. Um, Focused on forward progress. Thanks and hope things are oh man, everything is good here, man. And that's good to hear. Focus forward our progress. I definitely want to have an offline conversation with you, man. In regards to Kickstarter and all that other stuff and what you're doing with your project and stuff. Definitely want to learn more about the route that you're trying to go with that. But more offline. I'll message you after this. And thank you for that. Yeah, everything is going good. Everything's better now that we're able to start kind of marking stuff off the list, if you would, in regards to what we had to do before the end of the year. So very excited about that. But throughout the week, the recommendation is, of course, consistently share, right? So Monday through Saturday, be like, hey, here's my character. Here's the original character design. Hey, here's a panel of the original book. Hey, here is what we're trying to do. Here's the character design that we didn't, you know what I mean? Like all week, just talk in depth about your character. Talk heavy, right? Talk about what excites you. Talk about the inspiration behind the character, stuff like that. So then people can go, well, you said all this about the character. Where can I read about him? Where can I see more about him? Boom, 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 boom. And that's the point of Sunday. Nobody wants to be sold to 24/7, right? And so that's kind of what the setup is that we have here. I do want to say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, what's up there? Why not? Interesting. Oh, thank you. Valid point. Tasha has brought up a valid point here. We want you to talk in depth about the characters, right? Don't just post pinups, okay? Apologies. I thought it had been clear enough to say it like that, but we have had um, obviously posts in the past that just didn't do that. And again, the artwork is great, but there's been plenty of comments of people saying, "I don't know anything about this guy though," right? So talk about your characters. Have some pride in your characters and talk heavy. And although you may have said the same thing 5 times, there's 5,000 people in this group, and y'all know how the algorithm works. Not everybody has seen everything. I could talk about Soul all day long, all the time, every which way, and there is still somebody in the world that has not heard or seen that character that is hearing about it for the first time. So don't feel like you're saying the same thing over and over. But I'm sure that there's something new that you can tell people consistently about your character that we may not know. So please talk in depth about your character, talk heavy about your character, share what you are proud of about these characters. Um, Again, we have plenty of characters, and we could talk at length about any number of them. So please do the same with you guys as characters. So welcome in everybody that's coming in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Kind of on the soapbox right now. I just reintroduced myself for those that may not know me, because again, I have been absent for a little while here, but I am one of the founders of Midnight Comics, Atlanta's first and largest Black family-owned indie comic book and micro publisher. But I am also the founder of the Indie Breakdown, the show where we break down your favorite indie comic book characters and get them ready for an indie versus matchup. Again, that started off as a show. We wanted to expand that out into the group and turn it into a group to really get all the creators that we could find together in one spot where they could just converse, be excited, and fans of the indie realm as well to kind of get together, converse, hash out new ideas, partner up, what have you. But just this melting pot of creativity, if you would, is what we wanted to create with this. So anyway, that's what you guys missed a little while ago. Started talking about the rules here a little while ago again. Promo Sundays, that's the day for promo. Monday through Saturday, just talk heavy about your characters, talk heavy about your stories, all that other good stuff. But please, 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 please save all links, right? And all promo for Sundays. I think we've made it clear, right? If you guys have any questions, please ask us. Let me know during the live, what have you. Please just let me know. Let us know if you have any questions in regards to that. But again, we don't want it to turn into how other groups are, where it's just links and no engagement. We want to avoid that because I think we know that in the long run, that is better for all of us, really, for people to just genuinely engage with your content, genuinely be interested in what it is that you're offering in the space and all of that. So that's the idea behind it. So let's yeah, sidetrack. Got a message just now that threw me off. But yeah, so promo Sunday, those are the days for links. Again, everybody, as Tasha stated a couple days ago, maybe a week ago, everybody's reset back to zero in regards to that, but we will be upholding the rules with extreme prejudice, if you would. We don't want, because the moment one person does it, then it just kind of um, snowball effect, just turns into an avalanche, right? And then just everybody's doing it, and we kind of lose the plot of what the group is supposed to be. So that out of the way, one thing that I will be a little bit more straightforward with, right? Absolutely no AI in the group. I don't care writing wise, I don't care art wise. There is no AI in the group. It will be deleted immediately. And that'll be a ding essentially for that as well. Again, all the rules and stuff, you guys have seen plenty of that. Please, no AI. Again, this group is supposed to be for celebrating creativity, your creativity, that you're able to come with and contribute to to the cosmology of the entire indie space, right? So, what'd you say? Okay. So yeah, he said, I'm about to comment in straight AI. Lonzo's dope. Boy, what's going on, dude? But yeah, so no AI. And of course, again, as stated with the rules and stuff like that. Please, 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 gotta stick with those. Now, fun stuff. For those of you guys that are new, those that haven't been part of and all this other good stuff, we have a website. We have a website, indiebreakdown.com that you can go to. Here it is here. Again, initially kind of, well, not even initially, when we made the website, it was for specifically the database. The database houses a good bit of characters that you'll find familiar um, in regards to the group, right? You'll see a lot of characters, and we have them all uh, statted out or power scaled. There we go. From baseline to essentially God tier and stuff like that. And these are all characters that you can go in learn more about. Now, it's mostly again the power stats and abilities. If you want to know their personalities, if you want to know their stories, we have their creators' social media on here. So I'll click on the Tridian right here. So you can visit Starcross Comics, right? The creator is Ralph Madrigal, and you can look in the group, right? You can type in Ralph's name, you can go and message him and be like, hey, tell me more about your character. We did it purposefully that way so that you can engage and ask these questions and get to know not only the character, but the creator. And through those conversations, once more, you'll be able to go ahead and check out their books and other projects that they may be working on, right? So again, it just all kind of pulls back into each other as we're trying to really build a true sense of community in the space. But yeah, so indiebreakdown.com, it houses this database. More on that as we get back to what I would like to do moving forward. But if you want, again, it started off as a show, so we have the interviews, we have the breakdowns, we have the previous versus matches that took place in the group, right? So any lives or any posts, past posts, and stuff that you may have missed, conversations about what character would be who, all of that stuff is in there. Don't know much about AI. Oh yeah, we know what you've been doing, Ma, for sure. Drawn since you was six. The 50 still going older than the internet. That's fantastic. Absolutely. But yeah, exactly. Talk more about your characters, post more, um, take part in some of the events and stuff like that. Let's matter of fact, definitely want to get some of your characters in the database. So when we start doing events and writing prompts and stuff like that, we get to see more of your characters at the forefront because you have a lot of characters that'd be perfect. Whether it's villains or what have you, or even some of the maps and stuff or planets that you have would be fantastic as battlegrounds for some of those matchups and events. So yeah, when we open that back up and more on that later, definitely want to see you in there. But yeah, we even have a gallery, right? So when we did some of these events and conversations and stuff like that, again, we said, well, what if the Fantastic Four was indie, right? And so we challenged ourselves to find the indie equivalent to the Fantastic Four, utilizing only the database, right? And so we want to continue to do stuff like that on a wider scale because then we say, here we go, introducing one of the ideas that we have, right? If we say, all right, we want to do a writing prompt, all right, take this team right here. How do they meet? Who's their first villain? Right there, issue one. Something simple, right? We have a base here, right? Again, utilize those characters from the database, blah, 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 blah. But we want to provide all the tools for you guys to, again, access people about their characters. Just write something, right? But let me dive into one of the big things here again about the writing prompts that we want to start. And Mecca, what's going on, man? How you been? One of the things that we really want to start doing, we've done the events in the past, as many of you were aware with the events. And it was more like a D&D style situation. where somebody would kind of be like the DM and like going back and forth and answering the questions and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, extremely fun, absolutely fun. But time consuming, right? And I stated at the beginning, so many of us have so many other things that we need to be working on at that point. But however, we want to keep the spirit of that alive. So goes back to what I was saying just now. Let's do writing prompts, right? And so this is kind of what I've been preaching with the versus matches. But instead of, hey, my character's better than yours, boom, 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 instead it's going to be, hey, here's the scenario, use the character from the database. Whoever writes the best story wins, right? So again, not too dissimilar to what I said in regards to the versus match, where it's just like, hey, your two characters are fighting in Gotham City. Um, how would you write that? How would you write that versus match? How would you write that out? Um, we still kind of got caught up in the I'm better than you instead of quality storytelling. So now we're going to hone in that much more and specifically say, here's the prompt, the characters that you can use as the database, go. And we are going to bring back the voting function, right? So whoever gets the most votes wins that particular writing prompt. Now, what I do want to do, if there's any artists in here, um, what I do want to do, because we have these writers, coming up with these amazing stories. I suggest for the artists that you guys, whoever is the winning story, draw something. Draw a cover for that particular story. Because now writers are getting their shine, and now artists get their shine. And now with 5,900 people in here, somebody's gonna see that and be like, I need to work with them. I have an idea, but they were able to write a story. Let me get them to write the story. Oh, you know what? They can draw really well. Let me get that. And now we can see each other in action on a consistent basis while also building our individual portfolios, while also gaining new fans, And we've seen plenty of times, and all the people that's been in here for a while can attest to this, but we've seen so many collaboration pinups. We've seen stories come out of this. We've seen so much kind of come out of the indie breakdown that it's exciting to see. And so opportunity is everywhere. We met, matter of fact, let me go back to this previous picture. We met Don Benjamin in this group, right? And he did this. And so we're actually plotting on down the line trying to get him to work on another story of ours, right? Because, he came through now. Obviously, this was paid and stuff like that, but there was an opportunity. We saw his artwork and said, boom, let's go, right? And so we want to make sure that the artists are being seen just like the writers, just like you know what I'm saying? Like we see the characters, right? We hear the writers talking or the creators talking about their characters, right? The artist, I think, for a while was kind of regulated to the chat group that was there for a little while, but then Facebook changed the game and they closed those things out and loose for what is called communities now. Yada yada yada. All that to say is like the artists were over here and the writers were over there. My hope is through this, um, everybody can be involved, everybody can be part of, and so we're not just a versus group, right? Which was never the point. We're not just a versus group, but we are just this is a creative group, right? This is we're seeing stories, we're seeing artwork, we're seeing people talk about indie and supporting one another. So, artists, here is the opportunity. So yeah, so that's one of the things that we would like to do soon. And Emeka said he busy. What? Oh, Emeka said, LOL would be a fun challenge to have writers draw and artists write. That would be hilarious. And you know what? Why not? Right? That'd be, listen, absolutely for it, right? It's open to anybody. So like we'll post the writing prompt, go for it. Write something, draw something. Um, that actually would be good. That'd be fun to see actually. Let me dust off the old sketchbook right quick. Um, So yeah, so that's the big stuff, honestly. I do want to open the database back up. I have not officially opened it back up, but I do want to open the database back up to get a flood of new characters in there, so that especially when we'll probably end up doing the writing prompts before we open the database back up, just until we get into the groove of stuff and more people involved. I want to see some new characters. I want to see some new names. I want to see people be part of, and I think. And this is kind of a bit of behind the scene conversation, but I think people are afraid to have their characters be part of. in the fear of losing or in fear of, oh, well, this person's character can do this. I can't, I don't want to. Let's go ahead and, get rid of that whole thought process, right? Let's celebrate your creativity. Let's learn something new. Let's see something new. There's so many amazing characters out there that people haven't had the opportunity to experience yet. And your character is that, right? An absolutely new experience, something that came directly from you, something that's completely unique. Bring that character over. Let us see that character. Let's talk about your character, learn about your character, and let's support you on your journey, right? So yeah, that's the whole big thing there. We definitely want to see some new faces, some new characters, um, and see people just be engaged and have fun. Now, are the versus matches gone for good? No, no. But if I'm being completely honest, I don't like where it has been for a while, right? Um, honestly, there's been a lot of feedback, pushback, people being upset, complaints, and stuff like that. And again, I understand pride in your character. Pinpoint versus everybody. I love it. No, I do want to, I just actually had the opportunity. Oh, speaking of supporting the community, be a part of stuff like that. I just read this morning, bro. I need a part two. I need a part two. So if anybody doesn't know, Paige Alfred, Malcolm McFadden, and Tony Cottrell banded together to create Beer and Bullets. They had their characters Pinpoint, Subject Zero, and Malone. I think Tony's character's name was Malone. They banded together, man. It was like a freaking Expendables. You know what I'm saying? So absolutely loved it. Y'all did a fantastic job. Y'all definitely need to check that out. But this is my point right here, right? These three creators, you had Page One Comics, 615, and Advent get together. You know what I mean? And create something amazing. And I think as a group, I would like to see more of that. I want to see more of this collaboration. I want to see more of this camaraderie. But through that, right? If imagine, and this goes to another initiative that we had within the group, and I'm bouncing all over the place right now. We're gonna dive back into the verses here in a second. But we had the $1 challenge via Kickstarter. If everybody in this group was able to give them $1 for this project, how much more would they be able to do in the future, right? Not to mention all the people that they have in their respective communities. But if this community banded together and said, I want to see more of what they have to offer in this book and beyond by giving $1, my goodness. You know what I mean? There'd be so much, so much that they'd be able to accomplish, so much that everybody would be able to accomplish if we continue to come together. But no, again, 615, Paige, Tony, Advent, rather. Fantastic job, y'all. Fantastic job. But yeah, versus matches. Yes, like Tasha said, doing it for fun is the point. Again, there's been a lot of behind the scenes conversations. Again, there's been a lot of behind the scenes complaints, frustrations. And again, have pride in your characters. Have pride in your characters. But it's okay, if your character can't, win. If our character, goodness gracious, if our character, the blue morpho, and you know what? I have this up right now, right? If our character, the blue morpho, I'm gonna show y'all her baseline tier 10. Now again, not everybody has a database card, but since it's up, right? She's a regular person. Look at her equipment: knockout gas, camouflage. She's got a jetpack, tranquilizer gun, uh, taser, and blinding strobe lights. Right? We're not even gonna get into the stats per se, right? I will say this one: she has a 2 in strength, right? All right. And if we just all of a sudden say, "Oh snap, we're gonna place her against freaking, I don't know, freaking Vibrant. Let's do Vibrant." Right. First off, strength is innate. I don't even have to tell you what that stands for. That's a way greater number. But he's got a nanofiber suit, energy manipulation, supercharge ability, which is his ability to enhance his body and powers and flight. Can the Blue Morphle win that? In hand to hand, or in just in stats wise, no, right? But how can I write that story back to the whole point of the writing process, stuff like that is what's important, right? How could she use the environment to her advantage, stuff like that? Is it just basically he's stronger than her? I don't. That's not what we're looking for in verses. Sure the character's stronger, but we don't need an answer for everything. Everybody doesn't have to be Batman. There's not a contingency for everything. Sometimes the character is outmatched, and honestly, it's okay if she loses this fight. That's the fun part, right? And you know what? This might a loose version of what's going to be part of my panel next year, but the allure of Batman initially was the fact that he was just some guy with gadgets. And over the years, right? Over the years, he got the notoriety to be like, oh, he's always got a plan for everything. He has to plan for everything. He doesn't have anything else but money. He has to try to get ahead of the game. He's just a guy. That was the fun part. How was this regular guy going to stand up to the gods? Right now, it got out of hand because now everybody just says because he's Batman, right? But the fun part again is he's a regular guy trying to figure it out, right? That's the mindset we need to be in, not just throwing it, just throwing stuff out there for the sake of throwing it out there to secure a victory. Like, no, every character isn't going to beat the other character, and that's okay. Um, you know. So anyway, I want more in-depth conversation about uh, about your characters and the scenarios they'll be placed in. So all that to say for anybody that's just jumping in, which again I gotta throw out in regards to y'all's book. I love it. They express what they were just doing. They're just they're having fun talk at the bar talking about their previous exploits, and then the action takes place, and now you're seeing them put all of their individual skills together. You know what I'm saying? To stop this new threat, which individually they would have had a hard time with, right? I think Subject Zero probably would have had the best chance. Well, I'm not gonna spoil nothing, but Pinpoint did have the equipment necessary. But in regards to just raw stats, right? Subject Zero versus the main threat in the story had the best chance. Pinpoint was better equipped, and Malone just had the sauce. You know what I'm saying? But it was all three of them together is what overcame the threat, and they were able to write it in such a way. Because man, all three of their characters had some crazy feats, right? Individually they had some speciality, had the right equipment for whatever job that they were trying to do. But again, they faced a threat that individually they might not have overcome. And they used their strengths together in order to stop that. So again, all that to say, how do you write a story? Right? How do you make that work? Again, they proved how you could make that work. Read the story. Yeah, bro, Batman Catches Strays. Yeah. He used to be my absolute favorite character. Absolute favorite character, but when you start having him, this is older, of course, now, but when you have him dodging the Omega beams, he's not just some guy anymore. You know what I'm saying? He's not just some guy anymore, right? When you show Darkseid shooting beams that Flash is having a hard time escaping, Superman having a hard time escaping, and Batman is able to get out the way, he's not just some guy anymore. Now it's just because he's Batman, right? Or Batman Braving the Bold, which I know is supposed to just be. I'm getting off track here, but I know that's supposed to just be. That's the more diabolical show is it because he's Batman. But when he's punching Darkseid in the face without before he can react, unacceptable. But anyway, they get a little facetious with his abilities and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. But what do you lose there? And I feel like this is relevant. He said you're gonna make me cry. I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But as a result, what do you lose when you show characters do stuff like this, or the character just accomplish anything? What do you lose? You lose stakes, right? Um, you introduce power creep, right? You introduce all these different aspects for your stories and characters. Let's dive into that one more time. You have Catwoman. I don't remember whose run it was. Maybe Tom King. I don't know. And she was able to knock down all three Flashes. We know that Batman scales above Catwoman, but we know Joker keeps up with Batman somehow. So we saying now that Batman's Rogues Gallery has the opportunity, or has the strength, or has enough perception to knock down the Flash family. They couldn't react to Catwoman knocking them down. She hit all three of them. You get me excited. When does this stuff start? Soon, Nathan. Very soon. Within the next week or so, in the next couple weeks. But yeah, right? What do you lose when okay, Catwoman can do that? Now you say, well, who's on Catwoman's level? Again, we know Batman, the Robins, Nightwing, all them, or at least on that scale. So now, dude, are the Flash family slower to they're able to be perceived by humans, or have the humans elevated in some way to where they can see people utilizing the Speed Force? Which means I shouldn't be worried about any of them getting hit by bullets. It's impossible now. You know what I mean? Like you start to lose so much when you start scaling these characters up to this godhood level when they're just regular people. Right. Not to mention Flash just gets hoed, period. Right. Um, so all this to say, let's not bless you. Let's not make the same mistake that DC and Marvel are making, right? Um, because what are threats to if anybody's reading DCKO, no spoilers, but there's Batman's in it, obviously. And then they have a shock value scene that includes Batman that leads directly into Night Fight. If you've read DCKO, you know what I'm talking about, right? Um, but you have these moments where these characters defy the impossible. And so when that type of thing happens, no, I'm not worried about, oh, well, what happened in that one story? Oh, Batman lost all of his money. He has no gadgets. Oh, if he gets mortally wounded, he doesn't have Alfred. Oh, no. Who cares now? Because I know what he just finished surviving. If he's getting tossed around by Doomsday or Darkseid, stuff like that, and survives, then I don't care that Joker just hit him upside the head with a crowbar or that he got shot. Matter of fact, there was a scene in the newer Batman joint that just dropped. He got shot in the head, but of course his cowl was able to protect him. But his ears was ringing. He kind of got concussed and stuff like that. But I would never worry about him dying. Why? Because I know the type of other stuff that he was able to survive, which scales him way above being a human, right? But I say all of this to say, to reel it back into the indie side of things, is the fact that we don't need to make the same mistakes as Marvel and DC. Honestly, we're better. Each and every one of us are better. We've created something new. We've been able to tell these original stories. We are able to come up with new ideas, and we're not tied down to whatever parameters a lot of these other folks have, right? And so, yeah, to answer your question, in regards to when does this get started, I think I want to say safely the first week of January. We have several writing prompts in the pocket right now, and we'll drop them periodically. But we're touching them up, making sure they're good. But let's go back to talking about that really quick. Huh? Oh, you're not even talking to me. I'm sorry. So in regards to the writing prompts, again, probably safely first week of January. You guys will post the prompt. Travis, what's going on, dude? We're gonna post the writing prompt. Again, the parameters are gonna be very loose. Here it is. Here's the writing prompt. Use the character from the database. Go. Whoever tells the best story wins. Obviously, there'll probably be more to the what you get after that. But initially, whoever gets the writing prompt wins. And again, we're going to reach out to the various artists in the group because we want you guys to participate in this all the same as the writers. The winner of the writer prompt will get you guys will do a cover of that, what you imagine a cover for that particular story. And then that story and image will be posted on the site. Obviously, that is obviously for you guys to do whatever you want with it. But we want to make sure that people are seeing how great you are as a writer, how great you are as an artist, so on and so forth. So, so that's what that whole thing is about. So that's the game plan there. Writing prompts, again, it's not going to be like the events that we did prior to. Those were very involved, right? That required a lot of everybody's time. And it's taxing. It's taxing. Eventually we'll get a nice system going that kind of works. But as of right now, it's too much, right? And so yeah, so the writing prompts coming soon in regards to that, covers and stuff. Again, I would love to do events. Events will come back. Now to go back to two tangents ago, versus matches. Um, where we stopped at was the point is to have fun. Um, I think for right now, we're going to focus on the prompts, and then we'll get back to verses. People can still trash talk, sure, but it's a bit difficult, um, especially if your character's not in the database, to quantify the character. I don't even know, I'm speaking from the point of view to people that are new to the group. I don't even know who you or your character are to even make this consideration about whose character would win. And if your character's not in the database, I don't even have a reference point to determine how strong this character is, right? Now some of you guys have character sheets, some of you guys have your power stats and abilities and stuff like that. Um, but in these gauntlets and in these stuff, which again, very appreciative that you guys have been posting, it's been fantastic. But let's say you have, I'll throw let's throw Edmani on here, right? So if I say, all right, here's our character Admani, I need her. I need to know if you guys think that she can be original Human Torch, not Johnny Storm, actual modern Johnny's Human Torch, Johnny Storm. Um, give me two more fire characters off the dome. Azula and give me one more. And Firestorm. Well, Firestorm's not necessarily a fire. Firestar and go. Right? The first thing that comes to mind for me is, well, which version of these characters are you referencing? Because we know as years go on, are you talking New 52? Are you talking about post-crisis, pre-crisis? What version of these characters are you talking about? You talking about from all new, all different Marvel? Are you talking about beginning of series Azula, end of series Azula? You know, there's a lot more nuance to it. And again, it doesn't have to be the most complicated thing in the world, but especially if we're going to use mainstream characters, there's a lot of questions, right? But then we're not giving enough answers or enough on the parameters in regards to it. So dive in, but to the point. Thank you, Tasha. As y'all know, I like to ramble. To the point. I don't know who your character is to make that determination. I'm more likely going to say, oh, well, this mainstream character that I have an extensive knowledge about, which goes back to you guys sharing your characters throughout the week. Teach us, tell us who your character is, the inspiration, the powers, how in depth you went in regards to the creation of these powers, what they're able to do casually, what they're able to do balls to the wall. Like, explain to us what your character can and can't do. Um, just talk heavy. I was going to go a different route just now, but I'll keep that side brief. A lot of people are afraid to share their character at such length and depth because they're afraid somebody is going to steal their character. Um, huh? Or they're going to spoil the story, right? I'll keep the copy and characters thing brief. Nobody's able to tell your story. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that you posted it, the fact that you have folders of your characters and posts about your characters. Again, whole conversation about poor man's copyright could happen another time, but it's already protected. You could still do a cease and desist and show them the dates that you posted these things, created these things, so on and so forth. It actually does you better to post more and talk more about these characters to prove that you came up with these things first, right? Now you can't get paid if you don't have it copywritten, right? But you could still do a cease and desist and get official paperwork to get the person to stop, if they have directly copied your character, so on and so forth. However, in regards to spoilers, I feel like we should be able to talk about our characters, and this is where um, the storytelling aspects and the kind of sales pitch and stuff like that starts to come in. You should be able to talk about your character and story in such a way that does not spoil the story, right? I can talk about Soul all day without spoiling the story. This is a gentleman who's two Egyptian deities within him. He does not know how to utilize those powers and has to take on the rest of the Egyptian pantheon while he's at it. I ain't tell you about his friends. I ain't tell you about none of that. I ain't tell you who of the Egyptian pantheon he's going to be facing. I don't tell you how well he's able to stand up to him, if he will eventually overcome him. I haven't told you any of that. I haven't told you about any of that. Mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. It's the craft joint. No. Oh, my bad. I know, my bad. But yeah, I know. So you talk heavy about the character. You could. It's very possible to do that without that. Matter of fact, talk about Edmani here. She's got fire powers, but she's also dealing with mental health issues. Is she going to have a villain? Is it all about her just overcoming that? Or you know what I mean? Like there's so much about these characters that has nothing to do with the story that I could that wasn't won't spoil the story, right? Her having mental health issues and fire powers. Tell me where her issue one. I guarantee your issue one is going to be completely different from Tasha's issue one. As a matter of fact, there's two other indie stories that I know of that has a black woman that has fire powers that's dealing with mental health issues, and none of them are the same story, right? And so all that to say, like everybody's story is different, and we should be able to talk about it in such a way where one, you're not going to feel like stuff gets copied, but two, you shouldn't be spoiling your story, just talking about what it is your character could do, what their favorite food is, what their favorite color is, what where they went to school. These type of things shouldn't spoil a story. Um, and I'm bugging. Tasha had said that, but I didn't actually read the comment. So Tori, I guess I should have read the rest of the comment here. Biggest concern is spoilers for my stories regarding some of the characters' evolution and power growth. I have some that are great for verses and won't spoil much, but they're not my top tier characters, which is fine, right? One of the things that we used to say a lot early on, especially for those, so for anybody that's new, we have two sections in regards to the database. We have the reckoning, and we have the ooh, I don't forgot my own tiers. Nexus, right? Nexus is if you don't have a book. Reckoning is if you do. So, anyway, just want to throw that out there. But if you have a character with a book, one of the things that we've always said is make sure that you just do the character as they are now, so they don't have to be the end all be all, right? Obviously, Blue Morphle is gonna, as she goes through her story, she's gonna get more advanced gear and so on and so forth, right? But that's not where she's at now. She's just got basic. She got tranquilizer gun. She got jetpack. She got knockout gas. You know what I'm saying? Her suit's not even really armored, right? But she will evolve later on down the line. But where's your character now? Another example I like to use, or specific example that I like to use, is talking about, you know, everybody knows who Goku is, right? But what was Goku in the 80s, right? Kid Goku didn't even, he had a power pole and he was able to easily destroy boulders. You know what I'm saying? He didn't even have a Kamehameha wave when we first saw him, right? So that was the character. That was it. He was unique in his own way, and then we watched him grow. So tell us what version of the character exists now. You don't even have to. You don't have to tell us about the evolution or the power growth. If right now, I'll use Pantheon as an example. Right now, he's just a high school student. He hasn't unlocked his powers yet. He a high school student. He hasn't unlocked his powers yet. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? So like, let's get it. You know what I mean? I feel like there should be a pot or place where us in the group can put in some money to make some of these prompts come to life. I would absolutely love that. Oh my gosh. If you know the ideas that I had, I would absolutely love that. Hell, I think we might have had some offline conversation, right? We, especially with like the images and stuff in the gallery, it was just, oh, matter of fact, not even. You remember, and some of you remember the events that we did in the past, right? And it was just like, yo, when you're doing the database, obviously there's a forum and stuff like that. We have conversations about that. But everybody that was a part of one of the events was just like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's come together. It'll be X amount of dollars to just we can get a short story actually drawn out, fully drawn out. Um, man, Malcolm, I would love to do. I would love to do that. And 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 this goes back to like we just said about the writing prompts. If we can have the artists that are in this group, because why go outside? We have artists in here. We have writers in here. Well, again, if whoever does the prompts, boom, bet. Now artists get it. And now everybody that's involved, now you have something to take with you to a convention. Now you have something to sell on your website, so on and so forth, right? Which ideally will get other people to be like, ooh, I want something else to have on my site to sell. I want to take something to a convention. I want to show that I can do this too, right? Malcolm, that man. But, you know, we'll see how the prompts go, right? First things first. Let's see if we can get the participation that we're looking for with the prompts. And I think it'll help that it doesn't require as much attention as the events or maybe even some of those early versus matches where we didn't have a database where people had to type out these extensive lists of power stats and abilities and story plot points and all of these things from the early days, the lawless land that it was, I joke about, right? um there's literally a whole creative team in this group. There are editors in this group, artists in this group, writers in this group, marketing people in this group. Like we have everything we need in this group. Character designers in this group. We have everything we need in this group. There's no reason why. There can't be a consistent revolving door of content that people can be producing in this group, right? That is mutually beneficial, to everybody involved. Um, but I think what we got caught up on in the early days, because again, the whole point, as I said earlier, was that collaboration, was that camaraderie, and the verses was the icebreaker, which you guys have heard me say in past videos. I feel like somewhere along the line we truly just lost the plot and just focused on my character's better than yours, any means necessary, and we forgot like no, we're just supposed to like yeah, sure, fight, 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 but let's learn about each other's characters. Let's ask those questions. Let's dive deeper, more than just power. Um, so we're gonna try this writing prompt. We're gonna try the writing prompts and see how it goes. If all goes well, if the participation is there, Malcolm, I definitely want to be sure that we reintroduce this idea. Um, I want to say confidently, maybe even in March, right? We start the prompts in January, and then ideally they get consistent enough where we can reintroduce that idea and be like, oh, some of these stories were just that good. That who wants to get on this, right? And then rock out that way. Then we go from there. That'd be fire. That'd be fire. But yeah, another thing that I used to say, is that everybody that you need is probably already in your phone book, and in this case, it's already in the Facebook group, right? Just like you said, whole creative team is here. Let's get to work. Let's get to work. Obviously, obviously it's possible. Obviously it's possible. Obviously it's possible. The group comes together. Y'all came together and made something. There's another story that Dre and Nathan and several other and Malcolm are a part of. Hypnosis Authority. It's possible. It's absolutely possible. And it doesn't take a lot, right? And not only does it not take a lot, right? There are ways to do it where everybody feels valued and important. Again, I'm sitting next to Beers and Bullets and keep talking about Beers and Bullets, right? Nothing took away from their story, nothing took away from their characters. It actually does it expand? It kind of expands or gives you a good introduction, everybody, to each of their characters to make you want to go get those individual books. And my hope is that we could follow their example within this group, right? Um, and I want to see new perspective on people's characters, right? I want to see how somebody else would write Soul. I'm very curious, right? With your limited knowledge about our character, how would you write Soul? How would you write the Gray, Blue Morph, Wet Body? Right? And to be able to see these new perspectives and these new story points and stuff like that, and then to have those conversations like, I like what you did there. That's amazing. Boom, 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 boom. And get to talking shop and getting to know one another and stuff like that, I think will be so powerful and amazing. So, what you mean as far as write a story? Do you mean like a script? I'd be more willing to write something concerning a battle. I just want to know the extent. No, what I mean is, I mean a short story, right? So, one that I want to do, but I don't think we're ready for yet. Okay, so what Tasha posted is still valid, but whatever you're comfortable with. But the example that I wanted to use was um, humans have been at war with superpowered beings for the last 10 years. Pick characters from the database and tell a story from that verse. Simple. Give me a freaking uh, 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 um, what's a short example? Oh, I was thinking about it. It's not a creepy possible. It was a short story. A time traveler went back in time and killed Hitler, and then he faded from existence. Right? It was a 3 minute thing. Right? He's talking about what he left behind in order to save the world. But what world did he leave behind? It was a 3 minute, real quick in and out situation. Now, again, 3 minute versus how long the writing is, a completely different thing. But what's a short story that you can write of a universe where all of these beings exist, or any number of these beings that you choose exist? And they've been at war for the last decade. How would the human characters fare against the superpower characters? What does the world look like? What does the verse look like? That is completely up to you. Give me a one-page story, if that. Give me a short story. So not necessarily, ooh, fisticuffs, right? Maybe, let me see. Let's pick a villain just off the door. Not a villain. Let's just pick a superpowered being because I didn't say villain, right? They've been at war with superpowered beings, right? So sake of conversation, I was gonna pick a villain for let's say they've been warring against the Acolyte, right? The son of the Supreme, right? For whatever reason, Acolyte is the bad guy, right? Or he's a superpowered being or the antagonist of the story. And I'll just keep bringing up Blue Morpho, right? And you choose Blue Morpho or as the representative of the human side, and Acolyte as the antagonist on the superpowered side. How would you write her interaction or her experience as the world has been trying to stop this superpower threat? You know what I'm saying? Does regular weapons work? And if you know anything about the lore, you can use that to your advantage, right? But personally, I want to see you guys come up with your own idea of how you would write these characters, right? Right. Here's all they have. Here's how old they are. Here's where they're from. So use that to your advantage. But you don't know her personality. You can assume, and that's fine. Give us your perspective on these characters and ideas. And okay, she's from Las Vegas. Maybe her home was destroyed, her mother killed, all her childhood friends are gone because of the acolyte, and she has been gearing up again. If you know anything about maybe acolytes lore, and maybe the guy that's funding and giving them weapons is Mr. Block, and so now they have weapons that are on par that can do harm to acolyte. Who would she work with? Again, pick another character in the database and talk about that, right? Maybe she saw again. Maybe she saw everybody get killed as a kid, and she sees him. He maybe doesn't have the blue energy around to her. He's this menacing threat. But again, maybe the story is the superhumans are being misunderstood. X-Men swag, right? We're trying to stop you guys from hurting yourselves, and notice that they haven't actually killed anybody. They've been saving these people because there's this deadly da da blah 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 blah. Write a story, whatever you experience, want that story to be. But the caveat is, whatever the prompt is, you follow the prompt. The caveat is you have to use a character in the database. Again, another example we said a second ago. Hey, we have a superhero team as an example in this gallery, right? Tell me who is okay. Soul and Solar stand amidst the destroyed city, and standing in front of them is the most terrible being known to man. Pick what character that is in the database and tell me what's going on. As you can see from the image, the skies are being ripped apart. New universes is peering into this one. What could be causing such? There's demons and stuff on the ground, right? You tell me that story. It does not have to be a 500-page dissertation, right? But if you could tell a good story. I'll give you an example. The Gray, the very first issue, the issue zero for the Gray was 4 pages. It became the number 2 fan favorite out of all the characters that we have here at Midnight Comics. So it doesn't have to be long. Tasha held a comic jam. How long were those stories? I think comic jam she did. She hosted 5 pages was the extent, right? We just had our interns at Midnight Comics. We did the Midnight Showcase. They wrote stories, 7 pages. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't have to be anything long. It doesn't have to be anything cumbersome. Though I know y'all can write. You know what I'm saying? I've seen y'all write dissertations on a versus match. So I imagine that being able to write a story from a story prompt isn't going to be and not only did we write dissertations in the past versus matches, we then replied with dissertations. You know what I'm saying? So a writing prompt being, more than 4 paragraphs, I don't imagine is going to be too cumbersome. If it is, we'll catch you on the next one. But I think write to your heart's content. You know what I'm saying? Get the creative juices flowing. Honestly, no harm, no foul. If it's there's such thing as 2 sentence horror stories. You know what I'm saying? Now, is it going to be better than the person who actually put a paragraph plus in? It better be a pretty damn good 2 sentence story, right? But you know what I'm saying? Like it's possible, right? So we're not asking you to take up all your time writing this what if story, right? But there's a voting aspect, and whoever again is able to write that better story, will win. And then obviously we want the artist to do a cover and stuff like that for it, and yada yada yada. So I hope that answers the question. So yeah. Um, hmm, what else? Does anybody have any comments, questions, and stuff like that? That sounds like an incident within the multiversal conflict zone from the Infinite Verse and Metatron. Doc Rock, please the fifth, Lord have mercy. But to that point, but to that point, right? I said that off the dome. You got something like that. You know what I'm saying? But the experience of what can be It's completely different. It's completely different. In this image, funny enough, obviously, we were being funny about all of this turning into some kind of amalgam indie verse. And as the worlds are kind of the universes are kind of colliding with one another, what have you, the enemies that they're facing are actually the characters or the monsters and yokai from our manga series, the Unbeloved. And so what they're actually going to be standing face to face against, which ended up being that very next picture, is our version of the Nine-Tailed Fox, right? But meanwhile, as reality is breaking, we see a Tridian facing off against another one of our characters, Asima, but she is coated with the Astral Wolves energy from a Tridian story, right? And so as these universes are kind of converging on one another and stuff like that, we could see these crazy again amalgamations of these characters. Um, and man, that'd be a cold story, right? How would Asima fair against a Tridian while she's cloaked with the Astral Wolves? Don't know who Asima is? Great. Go on to the database. See what she can do. I think Asima's in the database. Huh? Yeah, there she is. Right. So, it's have fun. Um, but yeah, personally I'm tired of the direction of the battles at the moment. Um, again, I think I'm more tired of the frustration that have stemmed from it, more than anything. And I think to get the plot back, I think the writing prompts will be way better. Because again, you guys love the events in the past. Um, so I think to capture that without us all having to be um, with fair reason, yeah, without it being as taxing for everybody to have to continuously be engaged on this thing. I remember there was one match that they had like 400 dang comments on it. Um, and one of the people involved was just like, I can't keep up with all of this. I got a job, and it's like valid. So it can't be a lot, right? So to switch to this writing prompt style to get people to, again, submit these things that you can just read it once and be like, ooh, I like that. And whichever one has the most votes, likes, hearts, whatever, however we um, um, present the final portion to you guys in the next week or so. Looks, and that's what we'll do. It makes it a lot easier to kind of scroll and be like, "Ooh, I like that story. Let me scroll down and see the next one." So, but yeah, that's the game plan with that. Database will follow the prompts initially. Um, Let me talk about that. Obviously, anybody that's new, database did cost money because we do have to pay for the website, do got to pay for Photoshop, blah 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 blah. So that's the link right there for it. It's only $5 per character. Again, that $5 goes towards making sure we have the tools necessary to make the cards for you guys. So please be sure to read the rules, but also read this. Um, we have a tier system in regards to that. Take the time and actually look at it. I know the lettering is a bit small on the screen here, but of course you can zoom in. So, what we did in regards to power scaling is this, we call it the state of being system. And I'll close out here in a moment. But we have what's called a state of being system. I thought it was a bit, um, what's the verbiage I used before? Redundant, I think, to say this person has he's a nuclear tier, right? But then come over here and start talking about the power stats, and then we go over strength again and say that he's nuclear. Like we don't need to double up on the fact that he's on a nuclear level. So instead, we said, what's their state of being? Baseline would be human. Enhanced would be what do we have? Basic upgrades, right? So you can go from Misty Knight with the arms, a cyborg being a whole cybernetic. You have metahumans. Metahumans being people that you know, weren't born with powers, but achieved it through some kind of, external means. Mutant would be somebody born with powers, so on and so forth, right? And not any of them means you're automatically stronger than another character, right? Supernatural, right? That could be Constantine, Zatanna, Dr. Fate, Doctor Strange, so on and so forth. Ascended beings, transcendent beings, mythic. There's all these number of things that you can go ahead and check out. Obviously, a conceptual being would be above quite a few of these characters and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, anyway. Um, Review that. Let us know where you would place your character in the database. Obviously, there's the powers and stats there as well, for you to look at and be like, well, my character can do X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. Right. So take a look at that. Take a look at the characters and stuff that's in the database. Get to know them. Get to know your characters better. But yeah, when we get started with these writing prompts, I am very much excited to see the types of stories that you guys are able to tell. I'm a big fan of what ifs. I'm a sucker for what ifs. Matter of fact, let me talk about that before I close. I just picked this joint up the other day. What if Punisher killed Daredevil? And I gotta say, back in the day, and I said this to Tasha the other night, they used to glaze Punisher the way they glaze Batman, right? And I don't know if you guys have also checked out Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe. The glaze was real. There's no way, in my opinion, Punisher is able to kill Wolverine. That's dead. There's no way, in my opinion, that Punisher is killing Spider-Man. There's no way. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain characters, like, there's no reason why Punisher could keep up with or stave off Cloak and Dagger. I don't think so. Right? There's too much in some of these characters' toolboxes to be able to do something like that. He shouldn't be able to keep up with Cap, my opinion. Right? But they glaze this guy up to do these type of things. It's just like, mm. Now the inciting incident on how the Punisher kills Daredevil does make sense, right? So that was neat, right? But the rest of it was just like, stop it, stop it, stop it. Um, Hold on, I have another one. Again, I'm a sucker for what ifs. We got what if the Phoenix had never died. Um, Love it. Like you're taking some of these, these ideas and kind of expounding on it and stuff like that, and creating a halfway decent story with it. And so again, take these characters in the database, say, well, what if Solar, uses, insert any number of stories. Everybody will be able to tell a different story with these things. Tell that what if. Tell that what if. What if the story was written by Nathan? What if Tori wrote? You know what I mean? Blue Morpho. You know what I'm saying? What if was my first professional assignment I got from Tom DeFalco in 1989? Boom. Come on. So I ain't got to explain none of this to you. You know what I'm saying? Like this is, but man, I'm a sucker, bro. When I say I'm a sucker for what if, Elseworlds, those type of things, because it takes characters that we are familiar with, and you could just flip them on their head. And this is a whole nother video or conversation I'm about to sprout up. But I think things like Absolute Verse, things like, Avengers Twilight, all these things are so good because they take these familiar concepts and they kind of throw some of the ideas. What's going on, Smith? They kind of throw some of this stuff out the window and say, well, if I were to write it or if it was to go this way, and they give us these brand new ideas that work, that are really good, that the main universe is scared to go with. They're scared to shake up the status quo, and we get these same old stories. I want new exciting things. I want something unique. I want something that you wouldn't have ordinarily wrote or a new idea about the character. Obviously, Thad has his idea for Solar, but what if Spiff wrote Solar? What would that look like? You know what I'm saying? Like, so again, when we start doing these writing prompts, I want you guys to go in with just this little bit of information and then have at it. You know what I'm saying? How would Tori write Hopebreaker? You know what I'm saying? That would be but again, that's not what the writing prompt is. But when we do the writing prompts and stuff like that, you will have very limited information. Which is perfect. I want to see the level of creativity um that you guys come up with. Smith, the example that I used a second ago in regards to that was what if humans were at war with superpowered beings for the last decade? That's it. That's the prompt. Now pick characters in the database. Preferably not your own, right? Preferably not your own character, right? So how would you write humans versus superpowered beings? And notice I didn't say the superpowered villains, right? So an example was Blue Morpho in a world where Acolyte was the superpowered villain that they was taking on. Go, right? And story could be as short as you want or as long as you want. There will be a voting aspect, winning story. We'll reach out to artists, let's do a cover. We vote on the cover, and then we have a winning cover, we have a winning story. Boom. You know what I mean? And so now, for everybody involved, that's a print to sell out thing with a nice little short story on the back. Boom. You know what I'm saying? So that's the idea. Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, that's gonna be fire. Gonna be absolutely fire. So once we get a couple of those under our belt, get the groove going with that, and so on and so forth. The hope is to reopen the database to introduce some new characters. For anybody else again that's new, that's kind of getting in here, trying to understand what it is we do, how we do it. I'm sure at that point they'll be like, "Oh, I want my character to be involved in something like that." So then we'll start introducing those new characters and having folks do that. But anybody, behold, as I live and breathe, what's going on, Dre? Um, so yeah, and again, you don't have to have a character in the database in order to participate. Please participate, talk heavy, and again, if you don't have a character in the database, you can still share your character. You can still talk about your character. You can still engage and be part of the conversations that take place. So, what did we go over? Everybody's just coming in. What did we go over? Obviously, we went over the rules. Um, please read the rules. Um, of course, that included, talking about promo Sundays. That talked about links and all this other stuff, but it also talked about AI. Would not AI is absolutely not. Um, whether it's writing wise, whether it's art wise, get it out of here and stuff. Um, so on that side, that's what we talked about. Again, just reintroduce myself to all the new folks that are in here. We talked about the show, all that other stuff. And versus, again, if you guys decide to discuss your characters and stuff like that and talk about who all they can be and all that other stuff, I'm fine with that. But the thing is, again, I want people to know more about each other's characters. Talk heavy about your characters throughout the week. But writing prompts, I want to say safely will start at the top of the year. So January, first week of January. Um, yeah, and then we'll start posting those. Be one at a time. Write a short story based on the writing prompt that we have. There'll be a voting aspect. Boom, done. I already went over that while a good bit of you guys just joined back in. Um, Malcolm brought up a fun thing that maybe down the line we can uh, uh, get some of these stories like actually drawn all the way out, which I love the idea, but obviously let's get the ball rolling with the smaller stuff. Let's get the prompts going, see everybody get engaged, participate in that. Then we open up the database and get people in there, right? And start small, work our way up to that, and then if that pans out that way, man, that'll be fantastic. And I know it can. I know it can. Again, we know Hinosa's authority is cooking in the background. I just finished reading Bringers and Bullets this morning. We know that's happening. Like there's so many again collaborations that are happening out there, right? Epiphany Engine is a thing. You know what I'm saying? So collaboration, camaraderie, these crossovers very much are things that are happening. Um, and why not this group? Why can't we turn out so much more, do so much more to bring our respective communities together to see each other's work and support one another, so on and so forth. Um, so yeah, much needed break, much needed break. I'm back now. We're not gonna do as much at one time as we were doing before. We're gonna start things slow. Um, the dollar challenge will return, not immediately, but it will return. Um, of course, definitely check out the indie calendar that 615 has done. Link to that is also on our site. Although we did end up having an issue that it didn't work the way we needed it to, right? Because I think it just ended up doing it like this, right? So the card doesn't quite support that, but we do have a view here button that'll take you to Malcolm's site specifically. And then when you click on it there, you can actually see, you know what I'm saying? You can actually see this the one that we clicked on, Dark Sentinels coming soon by Wiseacre. Boom, 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 boom. Wednesday, December 10th, which is today. Wow. So, you know what I'm saying? So like check that out. Um we want to be able to create a space specifically that allows all everybody to support indie and try to make it less cumbersome for everybody to know what's what. Oh, I got to do algorithms not showing me this, algorithms not showing me that. To hell with all that. You got the indie calendar right here that Malcolm's got. You have a link directly to that here. We'll have the dollar challenge with all the Kickstarters and stuff like that. Here, obviously, this hasn't been updated, but like the idea is to make that much easier for you to be able to support others out there and to make it easier for others to support you if you participate in these things. Now, I know I'm at the point where I'll probably start talking in circles here. So if there's any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. Grave is on the way, Pantheon number one, Dead to His Part, and Warriors. Yes. I specifically, I may have a bias, but I do want to see the Warriors. I very much want to see that. But yeah, y'all. It's all about supporting, working together, collaboration, all that good stuff. So please, um, let's continue to be great. Yeah, I want to get the calendar on more sites besides mine to push it more. Absolutely. And honestly, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, we got to talk offline about that. I definitely, absolutely agree with that. Um, I absolutely agree with that. I know, nope, we're gonna talk offline. I know somebody that's trying to also help be a hub for that. So let's do that. Looking forward to the new setup. All right. Oh, Carrie, what's going on, man? Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I accidentally came across a YouTube video of you. I think it was about public domain characters, which was pretty good. So yeah, I definitely want to talk more public domain with you. I love exploring public domain. So anywho, anywho, I truly appreciate you guys. Again, I know we've been gone for a while. Definitely wasn't much of a break, between trying to do any break time, but also, me and Tasha run Midnight Comics, so it was a lot happening all at once. So thank you guys again, Dre. Now that you're here, man, thank you for holding down the fort, dropping those questions and stuff like that. Everybody still, when you guys were dropping the gauntlet, still verses, dropping characters. Thank y'all for continuing to engage in the group and post and be involved and stuff like that. Thank y'all. Absolutely thank you guys. But yeah, I'm back. If you guys got questions, comments, concerns, y'all know where to find me. But continue to be great. And I forget what we say here at the end of breakdown at the end of everything. I was gonna say the Midnight Comics closer, but yeah, regardless. Anyway, thank you all again. And we'll catch you all next time. And said thanks a lot for the subject matter. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh snap! Did I just close that out? Yeah, no problem, Carrie. Absolutely, absolutely. Um, and anyway, yeah, 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 yeah. Public domain is awesome. All you guys have been awesome. All right, we'll catch you guys next time. And I will be going live more often. I do want to continue having these type of conversations, and of course, we'll be live more on the Midnight Comics side of things. But all of that on pause because usually we take breaks during the holiday season. I know I said it was closing, but one less thing. Usually, holiday season we really slow down. So with all that being said, yeah, like again, probably January, top of January, we'll really kind of get into the groove of things. But holiday season, very minimal, and then we'll be back January. But anyway, love y'all. Thank y'all. Catch y'all next time.